All right, so I want to welcome you all to our webinar, How to Win the Year-End Giving Season. Thank you so much for joining us today. As a nonprofit, I'm sure you know the next few months are really a prime opportunity for you to set your organization up for success to hit your year-end fundraising goals. Let's go ahead and start today by taking a look at a few stats. Last year, we knew that online giving grew by nearly 21%. That represents more than a 32% increase over the last 3 years. We also know that nearly 30% of all online gifts were actually made from a mobile device, so something you want to make sure that you're considering. And we know that donation amounts, like I said, they increased. Overall donation amounts averaged $737, and online donations specifically averaged $177. With a solid online marketing strategy, you can in fact conquer and get those year-end donations that you really need in order to support your cause. And those that set up a plan now are going to be better suited in order to stay on track through the busy season while still getting the word out about their cause. So that's why today we put together this webinar. We're going to be sharing some ideas for your campaign and planning in order to keep your marketing on track through the busy season. We're going to be showing you some tips and things you can do to stay top of mind with your supporters using a variety of online marketing tools and channels. With that in mind, let's go ahead and take a look at the agenda for today's webinar, and we'll see more specifically how we're going to structure the session. We're going to start by talking about preparing your list for the giving season. We'll talk about things like growing your email list and segmenting your list so you can get the best results. We'll also talk about some ideas for your planning and provide some ideas that might inspire your fundraising campaign. And then we'll also talk about how to promote your campaign in all of those different channels. Before we get to that though, let me more formally introduce myself and my guest. My name is Stephanie French, and I'm the content manager for webinars here at Constant Contact. And I'm really excited to bring back Michele Hickey. She's the founder of Silver Lining Communications. And this is either the second or third webinar that she's done with us in the last couple of years. So she has a lot of expertise she's going to be sharing with us. And if you want to hop on and say a quick hello, Michele.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. I'm looking forward to sharing whatever information and insight I can. I've been working in the nonprofit sector for my entire career, which now is more than 30 years. I've worked primarily in fund development and communications, and I'm thrilled to be here today.
We are so happy to have you back. I know you've got a ton of expertise and things you've learned. Now, before we dive into the webinar, I'd like to go ahead and just run a poll. Rachel actually has just opened that poll for us. Thank you, Rachel. I'd really love to know which marketing channel, for those of you who've done your fundraising campaigns in the past, which marketing channel has had the most impact on your fundraising campaigns? Is it offline promotions, email, social media, or paid ads? We'll give everyone a few minutes to go in there and tell us your answer. And by the way, if for some of you, this is like your first year with your fundraising campaign, tell me in the questions window. You can use that questions window to tell me if this is your first year being in there. So right now I'm seeing 45% email, and then offline promotions is tacking or adding up in there as well. So we'll give everyone just another minute or two to go in there and provide your answer. And then 18% right now are saying social media. Melissa, I see this is your first year. You just started in July. Well, congratulations, and I'm excited for you to help you get you up and running. Catherine, I see this is your first year as well. Emily, I see you as well. Doreen. And Jim, I see your comment in there. Surprise direct mail isn't one of the choices. I would consider that offline promotions. So good point there. Mary, it sounds like this is your first year, and historically they've relied on offline promotions. All right, so we've got almost 80% of you that's voted, so thank you for doing that, Rachel. Let's go ahead and close out that poll and we'll share the results with everyone. We ended up with 41% of you saying email, which was the winner. Shortly behind that at 39% was offline promotions. That actually doesn't support me with, or doesn't surprise me with the typical audience we have in here. And then 18% saying social media, and then 1% of you saying paid ads. Anything you want to add on to that poll information, Michelle?
Yeah, actually, it kind of tracks the way I imagined it would, to be honest, which I was waiting for a surprise there. But yeah, that's about what I would have expected.
Great. And what you'll notice as we go through the webinar today is that it's not just about using one of these channels over the other, but it's about using, especially with online marketing, you know, a bunch of these channels together so that you can get the best results and have the most reach for your campaign. All right, so let's go ahead and start by talking about how to prepare your list for year-end giving. And I want to start by talking about growing your email list because it's really essential for you to grow your organization overall and start to get more donations this season, especially because we found one stat that shows that the percentage of donors that are motivated to give online via email, it has jumped 40% since 2015. And that's why it's important to build a quality permission-based email list. And now I think is really a great time to go about that. And that way you can get them on your email list, you can start nurturing those new supporters and priming them for the year-end giving season. And that means you're going to be top of mind when they are ready to give their money. So Michelle, could you walk us through or tell us about some of the most effective strategies you're using with your clients to grow their lists?
Well, I usually encourage clients to focus on things that carry meaning, whether meaning for them, for your audience, whether it's content that they will find valuable in some way, content that will tug at their heartstrings, also strategies that encourage personal connections, like inviting a friend or colleague or someone in your neighborhood or community, and then combining that with the constant contact tools that are available to support that, like embedded video, social sharing, polls and surveys like the one, some similar to the one we just did, and text to join. So sort of marrying the idea of meaningful content with the technology that's available to you.
And you've got text to join in there. I'll show an example of how that works in just a couple minutes because it's really cool and really easy to set up. But I'd also like to mention, making sure you've got a form on your website. People are going to do a little bit of research about you if they hear from you from a friend or a family member, or if they find you in the search. And they just want to know kind of what you do and if you are worthy of them giving you their hard-earned money. Another thing I want to mention is social media can really play into growing your email list as well. You can use what's called a lead generation landing page from Constant Contact, easily create that. That's the example we see here on the slide. And then you can publish that, share it anywhere online, but really it works great when I've seen people use it on social media. Share it in your profile, share it in your posts, and in a lot of platforms, you can take and pin that post to the top so that anybody who goes to your page that will be one of the first things they see. Now, typically when we tell you to create a form or suggest that you create a form, we really want to suggest that you're not just asking people to join your mailing list. It's not really about getting them getting your emails. People are going to subscribe and give you their email address when they know the content they receive is going to be worth your time. So think about how you're creating value for your subscribers with each of your emails. Maybe it's about them joining you to fight the cause, whatever it may be, or join the community like in this example, or you can even offer something for free in exchange for their email address. Maybe it's a research article that's relevant to your cause, an animal shelter adoption directory, a list of after-school care for kids, or a list of upcoming road races to support cancer awareness. Now, are there any ways that your nonprofits that you're working with are really standing out to encourage people to sign up to their mailing list?
One of the organizations that I feel like has had a lot of success in just organically growing its list, it compiles resources for educators, whether they're teachers or librarians or museum professionals, and we have about half a dozen people who send me ideas for things to promote in the email. And we do a weekly resource. And I'm not a teacher, but I would think I would be very happy to get this in the mail when I'm looking for new ideas on the topic that they deal with. And that I find, every week I see that new people have signed up because I think people are passing it around. So I think that idea of, like you said, a research report providing content of value to your audience, I think really wins the day.
Yeah, make sure you're putting that in the headline of your form and explaining a little bit about that value within the body of the forms that you're creating, any form you're creating, anytime you're asking people to sign up. Now, Michelle, I know you mentioned text to join earlier, and we mentioned it on the last slide, but I wanted to show you a little bit about how it works.
Yes, and I love this demonstration.
Yeah, anytime any of you who are in the US can actually use this feature. You can easily set it up right from within your account. You're going to go in and create a keyword. I would probably choose something that has to do with your year-end campaign or maybe the name of your organization. And then it's going to give you a phone number. You can take that and you can design a flyer and print it out and put it wherever you're interacting with people. People will see that information, text in the keyword. They're going to get a message asking for their email address. When they reply with their email address, they're then going to get a thank you message. And by the way, these messages that show up in blue here on the screen, they're actually things that you can customize to make sure it fits your branding and the tone of voice that you want to have with your organization. Take it and you can use this feature at your location. Maybe if you have an animal shelter where people are coming in to visit, or I know a local animal shelter we have here, they raise money by doing grooming there. You could post this at any events or really anywhere you're interacting with those supporters. Now, another way that you're going to want to prepare your list is to use segmentation, and it's really important. People ask me all the time, well, how can I improve my email results? This is, I think, one of the most beneficial things to consider. Now, Michelle, can you talk a little bit more about segmentation? What is it, and what are the benefits for the nonprofits in our audience today?
Well, segmentation is basically categorizing your list in different ways, either creating separate lists or tagging certain people within various lists. And like you list here, those are some segment ideas: volunteers, board members, donors. You can segment, as you say, by level of supporter. You can also segment by people who've attended a certain type of event, or people who have clicked on a certain link on your prior emails. And that allows you to fine tune what you're sending to them, the information that you're pushing out, to make sure that you're giving people what it is they came to you for. That then improves your open and click rates, but I think it also makes your audience feel more engaged and heard by the organization.
I think this is probably one of the most undervalued strategies. I think for these for a lot of nonprofits, they think they're just want to send like a large newsletter blast to everybody. And I really see the value when you're starting to get that messaging right for people, especially if maybe you've had someone sign up on your website and you've noticed that they haven't donated since they've been on there. There are things that you might do or say to really maybe entice them to want to join that fight and donate to the cause. So lots of really good examples there. In Constant Contact, we've got a few tools that help you to segment your list. Michelle mentioned segmenting based on where people click in your email. That's a tool called Click Segmentation, and you can easily set it up with 1 or 2 minutes when you're creating the links in your email. And when someone clicks, they're automatically added into that list. So then you can go and you can send that relevant information. This example we have here on the screen is of our segments tool. And I think this one's really great. There's a few different cool features I want to talk about, but you can combine or create segments based on multiple details or things that you know about your contacts. More specifically, in this segments tool, you're going to find what are called pre-built segments, and you see this kind of at the top of the page. This can be really helpful, especially this time of year, because right now I think is especially great to start really communicating with your ideal supporters. Think about how you can leverage these ideal supporters to start spreading the word about your organization. One stat we found actually shows that 2/3 of people who make donations actually do no research before giving. Instead, they give to organizations that they already know or that have been recommended by friends and family. I know I've found a few organizations this way as well. So now's the time to turn those supporters into champions who are out there spreading the word for you. And what you can do is you can use this segments tool to find your most engaged contacts. That's the segment you see there on the right, and click to send them an email. The most engaged category there is it's going to be your contacts who regularly open and click within your emails. Now, if we do this and we go to send them an email, Michelle, how might we really encourage people to start to share and spread the word about our cause?
Well, one thing that you can do is when people make a donation online, you can have as part of the thank you message an invitation to share on social media with the necessary clicks there. You can also run a campaign to ask people to share personal stories. You know, in the case of pet adoption, you know, with a photo and, you know, and a little statement about, you know, how much they've enjoyed their pet since they've adopted them. Or maybe if you have a job creation or job training program, you could have people tell stories about getting their first job after attending your program. Those kinds of things I think are very compelling and make it personal and are really very inviting for donors to respond to.
And I think the biggest thing, and Michelle, I know you're going to kind of hammer this in throughout the presentation today, is you want to make it as easy as possible.
Yes.
Especially in your email campaigns, one thing you can do is you can add what's called the social share bar. Simply add in a social media block to your email, and then you can edit it over here on the left to allow your readers to share it on their social media platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter. That makes it so easy for them to just click and share. All you have to do is just add that to your email. Now, if you're not sure how to do this or where to find the tool, we've got an FAQ that will have Rachel share in the chat window on how you can go in and set that up. But again, just make sure you're making it as easy as possible, and also make sure you're asking. You know, nobody is more likely to share unless you're asking. So if you're going to use this tool, make sure you go in and add some text, maybe a headline right above it that says, please help us to spread the word and share the word about your cause. Share with your friends or something like that. All right, so now that you've got some ideas for really preparing your list and getting it set up, let's talk about some ideas for your year-end campaign and how you can plan that all out. One of the first things I think to think about when preparing for your year-end campaign is to mark key giving days on your calendar. So of course you want to think about some of these traditional holidays that really spur people into action. And then there's also some big giving days. There's Thanksgiving. Giving Tuesday is really important for all of you in the audience. Hanukkah, Christmas, Kwanzaa, and New Year's Eve. And I also want to encourage you to maybe do a little research because there are likely other days that are going to be relevant to your local area. For example, I'm in Colorado, and I know we have what's called Colorado Gives Day, which this year it falls on December 7th. So that can be a good day to send an email, have your social media posts really spurring people into action on that day. Up next is to plan the specifics of your year-end fundraising campaign and think about your goals and what you're trying to accomplish. In particular, I want you to think about these three things as the basis for everything you're going to do after this. Start by setting your goal and really put a number on what it is you want to achieve. That way you can keep tabs on it through the entire campaign. And then you want to make sure that you're understanding your supporters. Understand why those people who've already supporting your cause are doing that. And maybe think about what inspires them to support your cause in the first place. And lastly, this is to determine your value. That means really thinking about who benefits from the funds and how their donation will help you to make a difference. All of this is information that you'll want to make sure you have on your donation page specifically, but also in all of the messaging for all the other channels we're going to talk about here in a few minutes. Now, in the resources that Rachel is sharing out, she's going to be sharing a fundraising playbook here in just a minute. There is a worksheet. There are several detailed questions in there that you want to think through each of these, and you can go out and write down your answers for them so you can really start to craft the right messaging that's going to catch people's attention. So once you've figured out those pieces, start to think about the other pieces of your messages, your message and what you're going to communicate to your audience. So let's talk about some fundraising ideas. What are some examples of your clients' campaigns that you think are really standing out and getting some great results?
Well, I think the ones that tend to really have a lot of lift to them are things that create a bit of a sense of urgency. So I've seen schools do things like fraternity and class year challenges, because now we've got a little competitive element, and there's a deadline, and people have fun and they want to win. Another is to do a campaign in honor of a beloved staff member or volunteer. Again, that creates a sort of a sense of, let's do it and do this now. Because once you give people time to think about it, they get busy and they forget. You could do something like just a straight up thank you campaign, which could have pictures of owners, new adoptive pet owners with their pets, or students saying thank you, or anything that kind of generates a little bit of buzz. And then you had mentioned something the other day, Stephanie, about doing in honor of your own birthday. You could have volunteers say, hey, honor my birthday by making a gift. Anything that you can think of that will spur people into quick action will be to your benefit.
I love all of these ideas, but one in particular that often spurs me into action is matching gifts, because that takes the money that I have and it doubles it up so that my donation can go even further. So if you've got an organization that or another business that supports you in that and can help to match that, yeah. I just love that idea.
Yes.
On this same note, I want to share an example, something that came into my inbox actually last week as I was preparing for this webinar, and I thought it was so awesome. It's from one of our constant contact customers. They're an animal shelter in Colorado, and my husband and I have actually adopted from them 2 times. We've adopted 2 wonderful dogs. Now, while it's not specifically for a year-end giving campaign, it's a campaign that caught my eye so much, and I really think it can inspire you, because I know a lot of you often ask or are looking for things that are unique and outside of the box. They're asking their audience to join the Mission Possible and to donate to the cause through the Saving Pets Challenge website, which helps the organization to compete for additional grants and prizes. That's great, so that they can hopefully earn more money for their cause. They're asking people to join the special ops team in order to donate. And they've also, if you were to scroll down in the actual email itself, I've got it in this example here on the right, a top secret option to become a secret operative for supporters to create their own crowdfunding page to continue to support the cause and raise money for it. I thought this really stood out, and I really just love everything about it, so I had to reach out and see if they would give us permission to use this email example. So now you've got some ideas, and I think at this point in the planning process, sit down and think more about your overall messaging, because I know this is something that people tend to have trouble with, especially when you're trying to craft an email or a letter or something like that. I think a good thing that spurs people into action is understanding why they donate this time of year in the first place. So do you want to share a little bit of insight on that, Michelle?
Well, I think, it's generally people start to think about giving. You've got Thanksgiving and a whole variety of faith-based holidays. So I think giving is on people's minds at this time of year to begin with. You will have some people who will give for tax purposes, but I don't generally think that's the major reason that people give at this time of year. It feels good to give, and people like to feel like they've made a difference. They like to feel like they've done something positive in the community. And they also like to, it can become a community thing. People like to feel that they're giving along with others. They've been asked by a friend, and then they ask a friend. There's a nice community building aspect to that too. And people like to connect with something positive, and they like to be appreciated. So, one of the things that, when you're asking for people to support you is to always remember to thank them and thank them and thank them again. And again.
Yeah, thank them for their support, whether it's just, supporting and being on your list for now. When they donate, there's so much that goes into it. So I full-heartedly agree. Now, in general, well, I like to break this down into 3 questions to simply ask yourself to write this in a compelling message. So first up, you want to think about a headline. So you want to answer the first question, which is, what are you trying to accomplish with your campaign? This is where your goal is going to kind of come into play here. But you really want to think about something that's going to pique their interest and draw them in. It can be something simple and straightforward. Those things work as well. Or it can be something as creative as the mission possible that I talked about just a few minutes ago. Question 2 is going to help you write out your message body. Why should the reader care? This is where the story that Michele is really talking about comes into play. Elaborate on what is the problem that you're trying to solve, and provide some details on why they matter to your reader. Go back to appealing to their motives on why they might want to donate this time of year. And then, of course, the call to action. For this, you want to answer, how can the reader get involved? So if you're creating an email, this is going to be the text that actually goes on your button. Something simple and short. It could be straightforward, like sign up to volunteer, donate today, or something a little bit more creative, like join the special ops team that I loved before in that previous example. This is going to help you to come up with the text or the messaging that you'll use. And you can actually use this in a variety of channels. Just remember, you'll want to adjust it slightly depending on the channel that you're working with at the moment, because like on social media, you're going to want it to be a little bit shorter of a message versus an email campaign where you can expand and elaborate a bit. All right, so now that you've got some ideas for your campaign, you're ready to promote it in all of the right channels. So here we're going to talk about 5 channels that I want you to at least think about here. And a lot of them can really be working together. It's not just about using one or over the other, which is something that people try to tell me all the time. So first, you're going to want to make sure that your website is updated and it serves as the home base for a lot of your marketing activities. Listings and reviews can help you to play a role. One, it helps you to get found online, and also helps people vet whether they want to give their hard-earned money to your cause. Social media, of course, keeping people informed, spreading the word. Email marketing is huge for a lot of you, and that's what's helped you to be successful in the past based on our previous poll. And last but not least, paid ads. This might be something you might want to consider to help you amplify your efforts and start to reach a broader audience. So first up is the website. Like I said, in a lot of cases, you're going to want to be driving people back here from all these other channels that we're going to be talking about today. But Michele, what tips do you have? What should we do to make sure we're updating our website for this year-end campaign?
Well, you want to make sure that you have your donate button visible and eye-catching on every page of your website, because don't forget, a nonprofit's website is not just about raising money, it's also about the programs and services that they offer. So you want to have something that's going to stand out. You're going to want a sign-up form on your site, and you want to make sure that donating and signing up is as one click as possible. Once people are 2 and 3 clicks down the road, you're going to start to lose them. With regard to donating, it is probably not a bad idea for most organizations to have a couple of options for designating a gift, because people have different interests when they're coming to you. So if it's a pet adoption, you might have an option where someone could support outreach programs or adoption events, and also maybe animal care. And that will tie back to the segmentation that we talked about earlier. It helps you understand a little more about who's giving to you. And then test your forms, test your donate button, test your sign up forms, and make sure everything is working properly, that all of your links are going where you want them to.
I can't stress that enough. Even if your organization has been around for a while, there's been so much, things are constantly updating on the internet, and, login information and things like that. So even if you've had your form on your website for a while and you think it's working, I want to encourage you now, in this a little bit slower time, to go in, you or have someone in your organization, or maybe one of your most popular donors, to go in and test that. Make sure that everything is in fact working as it should, because we don't want to get to the end of the year when it is busy and people are ready to donate and maybe something isn't working correctly. So, and just to go back to your point there about making sure you have a sign up form on your website, again, don't just ask them to join your email list. Make sure you're showing them the value, inviting them to join the fight for the cause or whatever it may be. Now, the next tool I think you want to think about in terms of your campaign is listings and review sites. I do this all the time. Many times in the past, if I find a new organization that I want to work with, I'm going out there and I'm looking for some information about them. One, I want to know that they're legit and actually worthy of my support. So I want to see what other people are saying about them. So anytime I'm thinking about donating to a cause, I'm going to do this. I'm going to look through the reviews. Are most people saying good things? So Michele, let's talk about first, what are some of the sites that nonprofits should be listed on, especially for this time of year?
Well, you're going to want to have, your Facebook page, your Google My Business page. You want, and you'll claim your Google My Business and you'll claim your Yelp page. For nonprofits, I would also recommend claiming your GuideStar.org page. GuideStar is now a brand under the organization Candid, but if your organization files an annual tax return, you have a GuideStar profile available to you. And the more information that you add to your GuideStar profile, you start to earn seals of transparency. Now, the average donor, who's asked by a friend to donate probably isn't going to check GuideStar, but if you're appealing for foundation or corporate funds, those professionals will probably look at your GuideStar page as part of their due diligence. So it's free, it's available to you, it's a good thing to do. Locally, in addition to Yelp, you might want to look into how you can be listed by your local Chamber of Commerce. Sometimes they have special rates for nonprofits and special, little, webinars and get-togethers for those types of chamber members. There's also something called Alignable, which is a local version of LinkedIn. And you can look for local online newsletters. I know in New Jersey we have something called The Patch, and every town in New Jersey can subscribe to, post information on the Patch. So there might be something like that in your area as well.
I especially love your point about GuideStar there, so that you can appeal to those larger donors who might be able to really give that boost to your campaign. Now, I think it's important, especially after the year that we've had, just go in there. If you've had Google My Business or Facebook or Yelp set up before, make sure that it's got the right information about you. If you've moved, changed phone numbers, the address, everything like that. You want people to see accurate information, especially if they're going to get in touch with you. So I mentioned reviews in what I said earlier, and these really do play a role here, especially for me and other people like me. So how do we go about actually asking for reviews, Michele?
I would say, you can ask personally as soon as someone has received a good or service from your organization. You can certainly do a special email appeal now and then to just say, if you haven't, we would love if you would leave a review. I think it's also good to ask your donors, say if a donor has increased their gift, and you've noticed that they've really bumped up their support, it becomes another cultivation point to reach out to them and say, hey, this is great. We're so appreciative. We'd love it if you would post a review of us, because we think that will encourage more people to support us. So you're doing two things with that. You're making a nice play to invite the community in to support you, but you're also cultivating that donor by expressing to them how valuable their support is.
I love that. Really, it just goes back to one, asking them, because people don't really do anything if you don't ask them. And another thing you've got to do is just make that as easy as possible and relevant too. If they've just used a good or a service, or if they've donated to your cause, I think is a good time to ask for that review as well. So of course, social media is fairly big. 18% of you said it was the biggest reason for your fundraising success in the past. So social media can play a role here in a few different ways. It can really help you to reach new people and communicate with existing followers. On a very basic level, I do want to suggest, again, going back, make sure your profile information is updated with that contact information, your hours of operation. So let's get into I would say more fun stuff, Michele. What is the strategy here? What types of posts can we use to really support our year-end campaign?
Well, I think you can always share helpful, valuable information. So, for instance, a pet, adoption aid organization could post things about helping your pet through the stressful holiday season, and things that your audience will find just useful. But you can also share success stories about, say, it's coming to the end of the year, adoptions were up by, X%, or, find the good news. People like to give to success. And then you can share happy donor stories, people who've made a gift and feel great about it. Also, behind the scenes information. People, love to see that sort of thing, behind the scenes at the aquarium, that's, if someone is interested in aquariums, that's going to really be exciting for them.
I really love, especially the progress that you're making. Like even if you share an image, or just let people know how close you are to reaching your goals or how far away, because I think that spurs the competitiveness in people to donate and start spreading the word about the cause anyway. And I'd also like to mention, I think, using hashtags like Giving Tuesday, and also anything that might be specific to your organization, something that pertains to your campaign, really help people to find your organization easily. So definitely consider some things like that. Now, I want to share that I recently saw a post from a sanctuary I follow here in Colorado, and they were actually running a competition. They were encouraging people to post videos of themselves for Colorado Gives Day, which I mentioned earlier, on why they support the sanctuary. So this is great to get some user-generated content and just kind of ramp things up around your campaign, and I thought that was really cool. At the end, they were going to choose a winner of that campaign, and that winner won money in order to go towards the care of all of the animals. So just a cool another way that I think you can incorporate social media or incorporate it into your overall campaign. Now, I do want to point out, we're not going to talk about this because this could be a whole nother webinar in and of itself, but Facebook in particular has its own great capabilities for fundraising that maybe you want to consider. These can help your supporters find you, just because a lot of them are already using Facebook on a daily basis. If you're not sure what this is, Michelle actually mentioned it earlier, is, the birthday campaigns that you see on Facebook is like, hey, my birthday's coming up. Don't buy me a gift, please just donate to my favorite cause instead. That's at least one of the features that this is referring to, and I believe there's actually a lot more. We've got a really great blog post that we'll have Rachel share there in the chat window. So if you want to learn more about that, you do have to apply, and it does take about 2 to 3 weeks for your information to be reviewed and if you're able to use that information. But definitely something to consider. All right, tool number 4 is actually all about email. Email is still has one of the best returns on investment, and it won in our poll earlier today. This is how you're going to reach people directly in their inbox. And the great thing with email is you don't have to rely on the algorithms that can limit your success and who sees your post on social media. There's so much you can do with email marketing. So how would you suggest our audience write and even design great fundraising emails, Michelle?
Well, I think be clear, be sincere, and be direct. Make your case. Show the reader how their gift will make a real difference. Don't drag it on. Get to the point, and really make sure you're very clear about making the ask. It's not a time to be vague. Ask for what it is that you want. Don't shy away from asking for a specific amount in appropriate cases. And this is another way to use segmenting. If someone say had been giving $50 a year for the last 3 years, you might want to take that group of people who have exhibited that kind of giving and ask them to increase by 10% or to $75 or something like that. So that's just another way of using segmenting to your benefit. And make sure the reader can see where it is that they need to click to make the gift. And going back to what we said before, make it a one-click process, as quick and easy as possible to take the action and to complete the action.
Definitely. And I really love your point there about making sure it's direct. Oftentimes I click on a link in an email and it takes me to the homepage. Don't do that. Drive them directly to the donation form on your website, right there where they fill out the information and tell you how much they want to donate. And I guess I want to go back to a point, often I see, especially in the registration form for this, Michelle, people often feel afraid to ask. But like you said, just make sure you're asking. You don't have to stray around it. And like we saw in the stats earlier, donations for nonprofits have actually gone up in the past several years. And even despite the pandemic last year, donations still went up and people are still giving out there. So don't be afraid to just get out there and ask. Now, with email and social media, I want to suggest that you think about it in a series of 3 posts or 3 emails. So you can announce your campaign, maybe when you started at the beginning of the month, for example. Later on, maybe a week or 2 before that campaign ends, you can remind them. And then a day or 2 before your campaign ends, provide them a last chance reminder to donate. I have a small child at home and he's in the stage where every 5 minutes he's hungry or needs a snack. And I can't tell you how many times I've gone in there and I'm like, oh, I want to donate this. I'm reading this email and I get distracted by something else in life. Don't be afraid to send these multiple emails and these posts, these reminders. They're really valuable in helping you to remind people and spur people into action. Now, last but not least is to maybe think about amplifying your efforts with paid advertising, and that's the last tool we're going to talk about today. So we have a few options in Constant Contact for doing this. This is great for those of you who've especially never run an ad before. We recently ran a Facebook ads webinar, so if you're not sure how to do that, we'll have Rachel see if she can find the link to that and share that in there. But you can do click ads with Facebook and Instagram to help you drive those donations, reach new supporters. And then there are what are called lead ads. These are a great way to grow your email list. Yes, you're going to pay for an ad, but you can target the right people and encourage them to join your mailing list to support your cause. And then, of course, there are Google ads that help you to catch people right when they're doing a search at the top of the page. All good things that can really help your donation or your fundraising campaign at the end of the year. When you're creating your ads, I can't encourage you enough. Make sure you're tying them back to all these stories that Michelle is talking about and who you're helping, and really draw people in and make that connection, pull at their heartstrings. The great thing with all of these ad tools is that you're going to have the ability to target the right people, the people who are most likely to want to support your cause in the first place. So before you go in and you create an ad, make sure you spend just a little bit of time figuring out who your target audience really is. Think about who your existing supporters are and try to find people who look like them. What are their interests? What are their age? What's their gender? Because that's how you can target people on social media. Now with social ads in particular, you're going to want to connect with people visually. So make sure you're showing them pictures of the people or the animals that you're helping to help them make that connection and catch their attention visually. For headlines in the text of your ad, make sure that you're keeping them actionable. So use verbs like give, join, or build, and again, invite them to come in and support your cause. You are going to have some limitations when you're creating the copy for your ads, so just make sure you keep your text short and catchy. Now, one thing I do want to let you know is that if you haven't tried Google Ads before, they actually have a program that offers qualifying nonprofits Google Ads grants to help you get on there and start using those. And we've got a blog post if you want to learn more about that. Rachel just shared that in the chat window. All right, so as we start to wrap up, I just want to leave you with a few reminders before we get to all of these great questions that have come in before we get into the busy season. Take some time now, prepare your email list. You can set up those sign-up forms, set up a form on your website, set up a form on social media. That's where a lead generation landing page can come into play. And make sure you're enticing people to sign up or letting them know about that value. Don't forget how important segmenting your list is, because that helps you to get the best results by sending the right messages or relevant information to appeal to those different types of supporters or donors. And then take some time now to plan ahead. Determine what your goals are, the value you're offering to your community and your cause so that you can craft the right messaging for your donation page and all these other channels that we just talked about. And lastly, make sure you're promoting your campaign in all these different channels. It should be on your website. Make sure you're updating your listings and review sites and collecting some reviews before the end of the year. Social media helps you to push out your campaign, email marketing, and then of course, paid ads. Michele, I know we've talked about a lot today, but was there anything else that maybe you want to leave the audience with today or remind them of before we wrap up?
No, I think, well, just really to look at all of these tools as things that are available to you in your fundraising program, and that they really work well together. So to kind of come up with an overall strategy and seeing how all of these pieces can fit in and support how you're trying to get your message out. You know, there's really a lot that's available to you, and I think that's very exciting.
Awesome. Well, thank you. You've provided a lot of insight today. I want to mention we've also got a checklist that you can use as you're going through your year-end planning. Rachel will share that in the chat window. Actually, she beat me to it. So be sure to go in there and you can download that, print it out or whatever, and you can go through all these items and more that we talked about today. If you don't already have an account, I would encourage you to sign up for a free trial of Constant Contact. You can just go to constantcontact.com or click the link that we'll share in the chat window. And then I want to let you know, you can actually learn more from our wonderful expert, Michele. She's provided so much information today, and I can assure you she's full of so much more great information for nonprofits. If you visit her website, you can join her email list to get more digital marketing ideas, and you'll find that in the chat window as well. Anything you want to share or tack on to that, Michele?
No, just that I'm very happy to hear from everyone. Drop me a note. Give me a call. I'm happy to schedule, you know, a complimentary conversation, or just to kick around some ideas. You know, my digital doors is open.
And I will ensure you that I've learned so much from Michele just working on the few webinars I have with her in the past and today. So just a note, when we end the webinar today, there is going to be a survey that pops up on your screen. I'd really just love it if you tell us, take a minute or two to tell us what you thought about the webinar today. 2 simple questions. It shouldn't take you more than a minute or two to fill out. All right, so let's get in here to all these great questions. This first one came from Susan. She says, we have found that email plus letters, direct mail work best together. Can you speak about that?
I think that makes perfect sense. I mean, I don't think, you know, email is very, very effective, but direct mail, you know, I think they complement each other. And that's how I see a lot of organizations use both of those strategies. I think it's important to have, for each campaign, to have a unified message. But I know, you know, people need to be reminded 6 or 7 times of something. As you know, as Stephanie said, you know, you get distracted. You see the email, something calls your attention, you go out to get the mail, and there it is in the mailbox, and all of a sudden it's, oh, you know, I remembered that. I wanted to do that. So I think it's perfectly appropriate to be using those things hand in hand. And I think it's another, I didn't want to mention it because we were talking all about email and digital marketing, but yes, you know, direct mail and, you know, the ever important face-to-face solicitation, you know, all of these things can tie together into a unified campaign.
And I would have to agree with that too. There's a couple of examples in mind, you know, the sanctuary I mentioned earlier, I think I shared an example of social media on that, but they send out, I want to say it's a quarterly magazine with all the stories and the rescues they've been doing with some great imagery and great stories of everything that's happening. They have the donation in there, but that usually will spur me into action of like, oh yeah, I did want to donate to them.
Right.
So I think it's great they can work hand in hand together. And it's even worked. I received a catalog the other day and I was going through it. I don't usually think about buying from a catalog, right? But I did. I went online and I actually made a purchase. So I think those two things can really play hand in hand. And depending on your target audience, you might have those people who are not in fact online, or maybe they're just not tech savvy enough, so they're not checking their email
Well,
all
that's
the
true.
time.
You know what else
So
too
great
that
question.
I've seen some organizations do is, in the printed piece, they include a QR code, like a scannable code, so that you either have the direct mail piece that you can mail back, but then if somebody's looking at it going, I don't have a checkbook anymore, I don't know where that is, you have the code so that they can still do the online gift, or from from their mobile device. So
Exactly.
all of the above, whatever you can give people to make that gift, I think we should give it to them.
I cannot remember the last time I actually held a checkbook. Most of them just go through the bill pay and the bank sends the check on my behalf. So
I
that is a
know it's
good
us
point.
old people who still occasionally write a check.
Yes, definitely. All right, so Kendra asks, can you share an example of how you would use the lead generation page with social media? I'm having a hard time visualizing how this works. So Michelle, if you want, I can go in and answer this one, or if you want to tack on
I'd like,
anything.
yeah, no, go ahead. You can lead that one.
Yeah, so what you can do is you can go in, a lead generation landing page is basically just one page, kind of like a mini website where you're going to be collecting their information. So go into Constant Contact, you click on create, choose the landing page, the lead generation landing page, and that's going to allow you to collect their information. Again, make sure you're offering that value or inviting them to join your cause, join your community, whatever it is. So it's not just all about getting them on your email list. Once you design it, you can add in like your logo, the fields you want to collect from them, maybe change your background color so that they fit with your brand, publish it, and then you're going to be able to take that link and share it on social media. Especially when you do that on social media, especially for like a post, make sure you're putting some text in that actual post about why you'd really like them to subscribe to your mailing list. Again, all about that value, but put that information in the post.
And
So
Stephanie, you can also have that do like an auto respond too, where if, say, once they sign up, you would send them the, pet care at the holidays tip sheet or something like that. You can do that as well, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Automation is great. At the very least, set up a welcome email once someone signs up. Start communicating with them right away. And also, you could take that a step further and create a whole series of emails. We've got tons of webinars out there that we work on, and me specifically and a couple other people work on every single day. There's actually an automation webinar. If you go to constantcontact.com/free webinars, and that'll list out all the webinars that we do have. So I hope that helps, Kendra. If you have any follow-up questions, let us know. Alicia asks, is text to join available in Canada? No, I believe it's only available in the United States for now. There might be some other platforms, I don't know, Michelle, outside of Constant Contact, that maybe Canada has its own, that you could then take that and integrate that list into Constant Contact. Do you know anything about that?
I don't.
Okay. Yeah, that might warrant a little bit of research, just see what's available in Canada, because I'm sure there's some sort of app out there. All right, Kim asks, are all of the examples you're discussing today included in Constant Contact accounts, or are the add-ons with an additional cost? So I would say 95 to 99% of all of these are actually available in all of the packages. You can use click segmentation in the basic email package. You can segment your list using those pre-built segments. When you start getting into like surveys or using our events tool and things like that, that's when those things are available in what's called the email plus the upgraded package. So if you go to Constant Contact, you'll be able to go into pricing, and you can actually see a breakdown of all of those different features. But most of them that we've talked about today are available for all accounts. It's a great question. All right, Rebecca asks, how do we capture emails via Facebook or Instagram when visitors like our posts? Or do you mean post a link for social media visitors to use? You want to start with that one, Michelle?
Well, say that again. I'm not sure I followed the whole question.
So I'll go with the first part of the question. How do we capture emails via Facebook or Instagram when visitors like our posts?
I
I
think
would
if you,
say, oh,
yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I'm not still Not
Yeah,
sure what
I
you
would
meant.
just say, it's not so much about them liking the post, but it's about them seeing it. So make sure you've got that in the feed and even within your profile so that they can sign up. I know Facebook in particular, it has the call to action button that maybe if you're not already using it for donations or something else at the top of the page, you can take that lead generation landing tool that I was talking about before from Kendra's question and put the link to that in there and encourage people to sign up that way. But yeah, I would say the answer to that question simply is making sure you're posting a link on social media for people to sign up there. But again, making sure it's all about the value you receive or they're going to receive in your emails. So Andrew asks, can you speak to integration with donor databases like Bloomerang? And that might be something that I can tackle unless you'd like to, Michelle.
Yeah, because most of the, my clients tend to split into two camps. Either they're using uh, major platforms like Salesforce and Blackboard, or they're using Constant Contact. And I will say this, I do have a couple of clients who are small enough where they're actually using Constant Contact as their primary database. So I'd say you can go ahead and talk about something like Bloomerang.
And I just want to make a note on that. When you're in Constant Contact, you'll actually be able to see the integrations tab at the top of your account. And it lists out all of the integrations that we have. I'm not familiar with Bloomerang enough to know, but I know we've got I think Neon and Donor Perfect for sure that we integrate with. So you can go there to find out if that's the one that we do integrate with. But it's going to help you to sync in your contacts so that you can start your email marketing to them. So definitely something I would suggest for those of you who are using any of those other tools, Salesforce or anything like that. Make sure you're integrating it with Constant Contact, saving yourself a little bit of time in terms of syncing that information in there when people get into your database. So Laura says, my biggest wish currently is to grow our contact list. How cool, uncool is it to email someone who didn't directly ask for an email?
Well, you really are supposed to have their opt-in. So, I think it depends. If you're emailing someone from your personal email, I think, and it's a personal conversation that you've had with them, you can say, hi, we met at, an event recently, and I would love it if you could join our mailing list. That's one way to do it. I don't know if there's a way to do it really through the marketing email because you need the opt-in. So, another way would be, when you're in contact with the person, to have them either sign up through text to join, or, have, even the old fashioned, clipboard out and have them sign up. But I don't think there's anything tackier or, inappropriate about sending a personal email to someone with the link to your sign up. I don't know. Does that sound right to you, Stephanie? Is there something else that you've seen people do that I'm not aware of?
That's along the same lines I was going to say. You definitely don't want to blast in a whole list of people. If you've
No.
met them somewhere at a networking event or they attended your event or something like that, I
Right.
do think, you want to ask for that permission. If you have, where they're probably at least familiar with you, I think you can reach out through your personal email, of course. Definitely don't take them and upload them in a Constant Contact through like an email marketing platform. That's when you start to may violate some anti-spam laws that are out there. And plus, if you just add someone to your email list anyway without that permission, it's not going to be an effective relationship for you. So I would say what you said is right on track with what I was going to say. So Renee asks, is the text to join feature within Constant Contact, once someone texts their email address, is it auto added into your Constant Contact list?
Yes.
And if you want to tackle that.
Yeah, they're automatically added. And I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you can set it up so that if you wanted to segment it as they're adding, you can do that, can't you? Like you can.
With the
Like
text to join feature, you can only choose one list, but yes, it's available in constant contact and it is automatically going to be added in there. With that one, you can't specifically have them segmented once they join, but a lot of these other tools we've talked about today,
right.
you can have them go into certain lists and things like that.
Right. Or you could, like, if you felt like it, you could create a text to join list and have them segment that way so that you would know.
Yeah.
If
And then you
that's
could
what
go
you
in and
wanted.
manually
Yeah.
move them
Yeah,
or something like that.
that.
That's a great point. So let's try to tackle one more question here. So Lori asks, how many emails do you suggest sending for Giving Tuesday? Should we send reminders prior to Giving Tuesday to alert supporters we are participating?
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, Stephanie, 3, which I think is good, but I've seen organizations do as many as, 5, really starting, hey, guess what's coming, like little hint, like sort of, a drip campaign. So absolutely, yeah. In fact, I think it's good to give people enough notice. Again, going back to that, need for repetitiveness, that people need to see things 5, 6, 7 times before it really gets past the noise and sinks into the idea that there is something you're asking them to do.
Yeah, I think 3 for most organizations and most examples is kind of the sweet spot there. But I have seen organizations where they're posting or they're sending emails in between those 3 that maybe they're not necessarily asking for donations, but they're like, hey, today we are 20% or $10,000 just away from our goal, and basically keeping tabs on that so you can keep people updated and kind of that competitiveness, like, hey, I want this organization to succeed. I really want them to reach that goal. So
And that's a good point, Stephanie. You don't always want you don't want your only communications to be the ones asking for money. You do want to have other types of communications in there. Excellent point.
Yeah, again, go back to those stories where you're at with your campaign, how much you've raised so far. All of those can be good things to actually support your campaign. And you don't have to be afraid of sending too much in a lot of cases in today's world. So, all right, so I know we are a little past the top of the hour and I want to be respectful of your, Michele, your time, as well as everyone in the audience's time. I want to let you all know I do see at least a few questions that we didn't get to. Michele and I are going to work together over the next couple of business days so we can get as many of those answered as possible. What we're going to do is we'll take the list of unanswered questions, and once they're ready, we'll post them on the community, which in the follow-up email with the link to the recording today, we'll include a link to the community page where those will be hosted. So just keep checking back over the next couple of business days, and once we've got them up there, they'll be published on that site, and you can find the answers to those as well as anything else that we didn't get to today. So thank you, Michele, again for attending and providing some really great expertise. And I want to thank you all in the audience for participating and sending in your questions. I hope you all, wish you all the best of luck with your year-end campaigns, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Bye for now.
Good luck, everyone. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.